22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are tuned into Black Westchester Presents, the People Before Politics radio show. This is episode 377. We're celebrating our 9-year anniversary this month. 9 years of the website, blackwestchester.com. 9 years of the radio show, People Before Politics. The 6-year anniversary of the print newspaper. The anniversary issue comes out next Friday. And on a personal note, this is the 35th anniversary of my group JVC Force and the release of my debut album, Doing Damage, which came out August 4th, I believe, 1988. So this is the 35th anniversary, and we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop, of which I am proud to have been a part of and played a part in any way. And I want to shout out everybody who has played any part in the 50 years of hip hop, the progression of it, keeping it moving, the artists, the DJs, the producers, the graffiti writers, everybody who had a part, the B-boys, anybody who had a part in the 50 years of hip hop. I salute you all. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Some of y'all are waiting. We have a big interview on the 7 o'clock hour. I have my brother, Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. coming on. As many of you may have heard, the city of White Plains decided to finally settle with him, I believe to the tune of $5 million. He's done a couple of interviews. We really didn't write anything about it. So we're going to have our brother on today, and we're going to discuss that and whatever else is on his mind. So we're definitely going to do that. Shout out to my brother, Damon K. Jones, him and his wife. I had a wedding right now, so he probably will not be on before the end of the show. So it's just going to be me holding it down. I may have one or two people come in. If there are anybody listening, anybody for this first half an hour or so wants to come on and address any issue, wants to hear me speak about any issue, please hit me in the comment section, and we'll make sure I send you a link so you can chime in. As most of you know, or may not know, I'm working on my third book right now. We got our own thing, a look at hip hop from the 914. I'm looking to try to release that sometime between October 15th and November 1st. Will be a good look at hip hop, all aspects of hip hop. Most importantly, how Westchester has been very instrumental since the very beginning on the growth and played a major part in hip hop. Yes, hip hop started in the Bronx, and there's never going to be no denying that. But being that we live in Mount Vernon and Yonkers border the Bronx, all the stuff that was going on in the Bronx trickled over to us. So we were very Mount Vernon, Yonkers, New Rochelle, and even some of the other areas were very instrumental. A lot of the Bronx artists trickled out this way, performed out this way, and came out, hung out this way. You know what I'm saying? Bringing that, we had people like the Imperial JC from Kool Herc and the Herculoids. He eventually moved to Yonkers and brought all that he was doing in the Bronx to Yonkers. Yonkers has played a big role in hip hop. Shout out to my man Jerome Enders, who has a book. Let me get it for you real quick. Pardon me. If you have not read it yet, check out this book, Yonkers, the Lost City of Hip Hop by Jerome Enders. Definitely will educate you on all things about the early days of Yonkers hip hop before Mary J, DMX, The Lox, and all that. You know what I'm saying? All the legends that paved the way. My book will be like that somewhat, but it will be dealing with all of Westchester. Hopefully everybody will learn something, and somebody will you'll read it and be like, yo, I didn't know that. So as what you did with the women's book and the first book, we're following that up with a fourth book that is 90% done, that is titled White People Cannot Comprehend the Deadly Consequences of Being Black. It's a book based on police brutality, extrajudicial summary killings of Black people by the police, and also the senseless gun violence in our neighborhood. We can't forget that part. And why we feel the way we feel in some of our cities, and what leads to the attitude and the mind frame that, I've been on. Every time something happens, they have one of these more mainstream shows or white media outlets calls me and Damon, and questions we're often asked is, why are they so angry? Why can't they just get over it? One of the first things you see the media do, they victimize the victim. They dehumanize the victim. And this book explains a lot of that and takes a deep dive into a lot of that. So instead of continuing to say it over and over and over, I'm finally releasing this book. I started it somewhere around 2015, and so many things was going on. I kept putting it down. And after the death of Jarrell Garris in New Rochelle at the hands of New Rochelle Police Detective Stephen Kahn, I just picked it back up and decided to get back into it. I'm trying to release that book somewhere around Black Friday, going into the Christmas holiday. And let me welcome my guest host for the day. Caught you early. Lane Cobb, what's going on, miss?
Hey, I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey, sorry, nothing stands between me and my ice cream. Sorry.
I'm sipping on cooling the shade, sipping my lemonade. Ain't no half stepping. You know what I mean? So I'm just catching people up. Thank you, Mike Hannon. Said, keep up the good work, AJ. Appreciate you, my brother. Definitely always been a big supporter. One of the things we did, they'll be sharing a lot of memories. Kenneth Chamberlain is coming on at 7 o'clock. So, going into the 9-year anniversary, this being the 9-year anniversary, probably be sharing some of the stories, some of my favorite memories and stuff, some of the work we've done, and talk about, like I said, if anybody out there has something that you want to see me speak on, please feel free to type it in the comment section, and I will gladly try my best to speak on it if possible, if I can. But Mike Hannon was one of the stories that we covered, dealing with some injustice. Former White Plains police officer. You can go to Black Westchester and read, put his name in there, read all the stories we covered. But we definitely covered his fight for justice and how he was, I believe, wrongfully terminated and a lot of other things. So definitely shout out to my brother. One of our most proudest moments, one of our moments on this show. My sister lost her camera, turned her camera off, so I'm gonna take off the screen till she's ready. One of my moments that we on the radio show that I'm very proud of is when the mic we had just started, August 3rd, 2014. Mike Brown was just killed just after that in Ferguson, and we were covering a lot of the stuff. This is when we were still working in the studio, in the mix studio. Shout out to DJ Cruz. We were covering what was going on, and I had wrote an article about the media putting out their perception of, their narrative of the police and not really giving the narrative of what really was going on. And I was in touch with some people that were filling me in, and this one sister called up because we were online, so people out there were seeing us, and called in, was like, "Yo," she said who she was, and she asked if we didn't mind if she'd give us what was really going on, and she gave us for the next 2-3 weeks. She gave us a play-by-play of what was really going on out there from the street, and how some of the narrative that was being portrayed by the police and by the media was not the truth. And we were surprised that people in Ferguson were actually listening. We just got started, and that was the beginning of a lot of things. You can read about it, a lot of it in our first book, Black Westchester, the origin story. I talk about all of that. I don't know where my sister went, but I'm just going to keep going. Someone said exactly. Appreciate you. Yeah. Oh, also, this, like I said, this is the anniversary week, the anniversary month. I do have the link to the PayPal link for anybody who wants to celebrate with us and send a donation. That's it right there at the bottom, paypal.me/Black Westchester Mag. Feel free to hit that. We appreciate all of you for holding us down. Phone's going off. Hold on. Appreciate all of you for holding us down. Okay. You can also hit us at Cash App if you want. MR, like would you see my name after my name, MRAJ Woodson, spelled just like that. We appreciate all of you. We have survived a lot because of the donations of a lot of you who believe in us. You have no idea. This has been a labor of love for the last 9 years, and a lot of y'all leaving us and have held us down. We greatly appreciate y'all. So the link is there if you want to celebrate with us and send something small, big. Believe me, all sizes are welcomed. The link is at the bottom, so you can just do that. My sister's back. I think something happened with her camera. She's coming back. As I said, for all of y'all just tuning in, we'll have Kenneth Chamberlain on in the second hour. He will be here around 7. So I'm just going through a whole bunch of things in my head real quick. Just ride along with me like y'all do all the time. I want to shout out all of the 50th anniversary hip hop celebrations over the last weekend. I don't know if any of you have been able to go to any of them to watch. The Yankee Stadium one was on YouTube, was streamed on YouTube. And I just wanted to shout out some of the incredible performances that were on. Nas brought out Lauryn Hill, who did If I Rule the World, and then did a mini concert. People hadn't seen Lauryn in so long. Everybody was happy to see her. You know, they didn't just keep it New York. T.I. came out and did an incredible show. Lil Wayne was like a rock star out there. I mean, he'd been performing since he's 13. Um, Snoop brought out EPMD, which was great. And he did his version of Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh's Lottie Dottie with Dougie Fresh doing the beatbox. And he starts off, and next you know, Slick Rick comes out and finishes it up. And Dougie Fresh goes into this 5-10 minute beatboxing thing. And yo, it was incredible. Nas also brought out Kool G Rap to perform with him. They did one song, and Kool G Rap was about to leave. He was like, nah, man, I need some of that Ill Street Blues. And Kool G Rap killed it. That was an incredible show. It was like a hip-hop version of Woodstock back in the days. It was like 8 hours long. Everybody from the old school to the new school. There were some people in new school I didn't know, but some of them did their thing. They brought the women out. They brought out Remy Ma, who started out with Fat Joe and Big Pun, went on her own. Then they had Trina from Miami, and then, of course, Little Kim came out, raised up, coming out the stage, and she killed it. Brought Lil C's out with her, paid tribute to Biggie. Kid Capri did a DJ set that was incredible. And being that they was in Yankee Stadium, he brought one of his friends out when he closed it to say a few words. It was none other than Derek Jeter formerly of the Yankees. Like, that's how you end a set. Like, that was incredible. Like, that was just incredible. So anyway, that was great. The next day, the show at Cedric, 1520 Cedric, the block party, I did not go. I went away for the weekend, but from everything I've seen and from heard and all the performances and everybody who's there, it was incredible. There was just been a whole lot. I'm sure you will see footage from this going on for a while because there's a lot of people who are videotaping. I'm sure there's documentaries coming out and all that. But get a chance, check that out. And shout out whoever did the documentary. I think his wife did on Biz Markie. I just got 4 or 5 phone calls. They included us when they showed all the Long Island artists. They show our album cover and everything. So I haven't seen it, but definitely appreciate being recognized. So, yeah, check out any of the performances. I'm probably going to do something on our 35th anniversary and some of our memories in the anniversary issue. That's it. My sister Lane, what has been going on? I think she's talking to somebody in the background. What's going on with you? What's been going on out your neck of the woods?
You know doggone well that I don't have a thing to say. You asked me to come up on here and keep you company, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I don't have a doggone thing to say.
No, that's what's up.
You know, yeah. Not really. I actually have been meeting people kind of serendipitously. Today I met somebody who helps municipalities do gun buybacks, which was interesting. So I told him that you and I had been talking about, gun buybacks specifically around Mount Vernon, but also as a member of the Greenberg White Plains branch at NAACP, I've been talking with some folks who want to try to get a gun buyback in White Plains and Greenberg area. So, we'll see. You keep making these connections and hope something will click, trying to get through resistance that happens to be there and just stay as positive as you can. And, there's always conversations happening, but that was something that happened today that I was kind of excited about. So if I hadn't told you about it right here on air, I probably would have called you later and told you about it. So
shout out to Banjo C. Rollins, tuned in, and that's who said exactly. I just saw it pop up, but I didn't see the name. We're still here 9 years later. If Damon was here, I would have that conversation again. When we started this, there's no way. I mean, Damon had this vision in his head, and once he shared it with me, I saw the vision. I created the website. I started putting up some content. We started doing the show August 3rd. After David was invited to the station to speak on Priscilla Ichi's show. I think their show was called The Power Hour, and Dion Bridges from White Plains, I think. They had a show, and they were talking about like Eric Garner and Mike Brown and all that stuff. And we looked around and we was like, yo, this is a nice spot. And Damon went and talked to Cruz, the DJ Cruz, who created the space and designed it, put it all together and built it himself. And we found out what it cost to be on there a month. And that was like July 31st and August 3rd. We started our first show on a Sunday in this time slot. We wanted to do the traditional Black talk radio thing, and it's usually a lot of that's on Sunday, but a lot of it is usually earlier, like during church. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people miss it. So we wanted to do it in the evening so you don't miss that church crowd too. And we've been here for 9 years. We've covered a lot of issues. We've had some debates. We've had candidate forums. We've had, we brought people that normally weren't in Westchester, like Yusef Salam of the then Central Park 5, now exonerated 5, now New York City Councilman Yusef Salam, Dr. Yusef Salam. But we brought him on. And ironically, Lane, when he came on, he was sitting in between Paul Feiner, Greenberg Town Supervisor, and Doc Cavallo, the Independence, Westchester Independence chairperson. And those two white men probably heard about the situation, but having Yusef right there next to them, telling that story, they were moved in a way that they heard it on a whole nother level from anything they ever heard before, and had knew about it and were both moved. And that probably would have never happened if the three of them would have been in that same space, but for like a show like ours. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's the importance of Black press, bringing the truth to the people, creating opportunities for people to hear another point of view that they would not hear. And you all have been unstoppable in providing that forum for people, just really bringing the truth to light in so many different ways, where people who wouldn't necessarily be in company with each other or with an audience who would not hear that point of view in that particular way, to put them in that frame of mind to actually take some action in a direction that they would not have gone before, which is, the News with a Black point of view, creating opportunities for people to thrive and not just survive. It's very important, what you do. And I really hope that people come out. It's 9-year anniversary. It's a big deal. Right, supporting the Black press is just something that we all need to do, because it's not something you can take for granted. It's a lot of work. I see how you work. I mean, it's, my God, you and Damon, you never sleep. So
no, I tell people I sleep every other Thursday, and I nap.
Right,
I don't
right.
and I had to know to put out 2 books in 6 months, and then I had to go promote them on top of Black Westchester. And if that wasn't enough, I'm putting out 2 more books before the end of the year. And but
that's, I don't know, the price of having a vision, I guess, right? You got a driving vision, you really don't let any moss grow under your feet. So
with
I
everything,
really salute you for that. I really do. I admire you for that.
Thank you. With everything we do, it's really important that we document aspects of our history that normally wouldn't be documented. Like even the book with the women's book, there were a lot of people in that book that people didn't know about them, about things that happened here in Westchester. And, hopefully people learned a lot about people. People met other people. I had the show where I had a lot of the women on together, and they were meeting each other for the first time, not even knowing what the other one had done. And forever, that book will be documentation.
Yeah.
The first attempt at documenting Black women in Westchester. Hopefully others will follow and pick up where I left off, and there'll probably be a part 2 to that. And then, even doing our story, which is like something I had to get out first. It's beyond the newspaper, it's beyond the website. When the website's not around no more, when the newspaper's not coming out, documenting it and the local libraries buying copies and having copies in there, as long as those buildings are standing, our history will remain and people can see the work that we're doing now. And I always felt it was important to document, to be the pen to whatever the movement is, the way those traditional black papers was back in the 60s and back coming out of slavery and all those other periods of times that they covered. It had to be someone that looked like us putting a pen to the paper, helping to change the narrative of how we were portrayed and getting the truth out there and covering us like only we can cover us, like the news from a black point of view. I mean, every other group of people has that. You go to any community, you'll see the free newspapers for the Italians, the Jewish Times,
Koreans,
Irish,
absolutely,
and all these other nationalities, and we really don't have that. But the difference is with those other publications and those other nationalities, their people support that because they realize how important it is. Because we only had like 3-4 news channels back in the days: ABC, NBC, CBS. Everybody got their news from that. It was a national news thing, and then your local publications, no matter who it was the one that broke it down to how that affects you and your community, how that affects you, and broke it down where then it didn't, it wasn't broken down like that nationally. And it's very important. So I don't just tell people just to support us, which I definitely tell people to do, but support whatever your local publication is in your area. I hope we inspire others to come out and do it as well, because there's room for all of us. No one person could cover it all. The Westchester County Press is 95 years deep, and there was so much that wasn't being covered, and we stand on their shoulders, and we hopefully have covered a lot of things that they weren't weren't getting to. And then whoever the new person is coming out, there's going to be new people coming out covering stuff from an aspect that we're not covering.
Yeah, and I think that's important to remember, is that there's room for everybody because there's so much going on and no one has your specific voice. So if you're someone who is thinking about starting a platform, but you think that it's already being done, it's not being done because it's not being done by you. That's not your voice. So, right? So, right. And you've uplifted, countless people who have not had a voice, and there's no end to people who need the platform. So I just recommend to anybody who's thinking about starting a platform, go ahead and do it and find people to support you. AJ, you've always supported people who are builders, right? So that's an important reason to get involved, right? There's support out here for you. You just got to say what you want to create, and we will help you get that started. It's very important to network, and you know that. You've been a networker from way back.
Right, and there's nothing to it but to do it, because we broke all the norms. We started out online with, and people think I'm joking, with literally no money, like not a low budget, no budget. And it was just me working like 24 hours a day to get it out and do it. And the radio show, in the beginning, Damon was paying for that out of his pocket. Like it was nothing that was making money. And he was paying the expenses. I was knocking the labor out and building it and all of that. And then, eventually it started. I wanted to make sure every year it did something. Like one of the first things was like Damon didn't have to come out of his pocket anymore. That was paying for itself, the show and stuff like that. And now, I don't have to do much other than this, because now it's getting to a point where it can cover my bills a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Where I had to do all of those social media for candidates. And I took some of those assignments I really didn't want to take. And you know what I'm saying? Just helping people build their social media, wasn't really an endorsement of them, but I had the skills and they needed somebody to do it. Taking pictures for people and stuff like that. And, now I'm concentrating more on what we do, and now trying to get the books out to document to hopefully be the next level of what we do. And who knows from here where that goes. But we would not be here without all of you. Regardless, if you wasn't, we could have the dopest podcast, radio show, whatever you want to call it. If no one's listening, does it matter? We could have the greatest website in the world. If nobody's reading it, doesn't matter. We could put together the best paper every month, but if nobody's reading it, if nobody's snatching it up from the places and reading it, doesn't matter. So we are here because of all of you. We are still here because of all of you. And how long we continue to be here will be because of all of you. Those who support, those who decided that they wanted to write something from their point of view, and I published it, or they want to get on here and share subjects from a perspective that wasn't being shared. That's what made us, still here. And again, I want to thank all of you as we celebrate this 9-year anniversary. I want to thank all of you for being there, for following us, for your contributions, for your donations, and everything, because that's how we survive. So, the other thing I wanted to say, it bothers me though when we announced that we were going to do a newspaper in 2017. Do you know what a lot of Black people in Westchester said? Oh, good, you're going to take the Westchester County Press out. No, we stand on their shoulders. Like there wouldn't be a Black Westchester without the Westchester County Press, the Westchester Guardian, several other publications. There wouldn't be a Black Westchester. So no, we were never here to take. And because people were saying that, one of the first things we did is a tribute to the Westchester County Press in the paper. And then awesome. we had her on because of age. She couldn't get to the studio. So she was in the studio once, and the second time she couldn't get to the studio. But we had her and other local media people on, Black media, and we had this long conversation. And people couldn't believe that we all worked together, and how many times she put me and Damon, especially Damon, in the paper and on the cover. You know what I mean? Even after we started doing the newspaper.
I don't know why people don't realize, collaboration and community mindedness is a very Afrocentric model, right? Competition and taking each other out and all of that stuff, that is not Afrocentric, right? That is not our way. Through generations, that is not the way to do business. That is not the way to thrive as a community, as a family, even individually. We need each other, right, to survive. And collaborating, helping each other up, lifting each other up, elevating each other's consciousness. That's the Afrocentric model, and we need to embrace it. Not taking each other out. That is not of us.
Now,
just saying.
I will say I do have a competitive bone in me, and I do watch what everybody else is doing. But even in hip hop, I never felt like anybody else was my competition. Not that I was greater than anybody or that nobody was on my level. I just felt like whatever my competition was, what I did already. And I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to take out what I did. And the next time I'm trying to take it out. So with each paper, I'm trying to make this anniversary issue 10 times doper than the last anniversary issue. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, that was my only So people tell me all the time, like, people used to try to divide us with all the, the Yonkers Voice and all the other local, shout out to, I'm not going to be able to remember everybody's name now, but shout out to everybody who's doing anything and holding it down in their local region. No, because there's Yonkers has about 4 or 5.
There's a lot.
New Rochelle has Talk of the Sound. A lot of people don't always agree with this dude, but he has always been on the forefront of everything going on in New Rochelle, the city government, the schools, and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like he's always done his job. We've not always seen eye to eye, but we're not supposed to. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're supposed to have, he has his voice, we have our voice. And there are other publications all over the county. You support your local publications because free and independent media is very important, because I can speak for us. We're unbossed and unbrought. Like Shirley Chisholm said, Damon has torn checks up in front of people And I'm talking about large checks that we couldn't afford to turn away. You know what I'm saying? But because it came with an agenda and somebody trying to buy us or almost silence us or not get us to criticize them. And he's throwing up real big checks in front of the person. Like, I've turned down money as well. And people are like, yo, how can you afford to turn that down? I'm free to say what I want to say and do what I want to do. That doesn't mean that I'm always right. There's some times when I have to be corrected, and I'm shown that I didn't have the full story, and then I come out and let people know, I reported on what I knew and with the information I did. I've since found out, blah, blah, blah. And if we make a mistake, I'll quickly tell you we made a mistake. Hopefully we don't make too many mistakes, but when we do, we're honest enough to, if I'm man enough to put it out there, I should be man enough to stand by it. You know what I mean? And that's
how about that?
So you need those people that are not brought. I remember an old movie from the covering the 60s and the 70s, and it was like now it was after that time, and one of the brothers went out and saw one of the brothers. He's a little older now. He was like, yo, what happened to all the brothers in the movement? They all got government jobs. So now, ain't nobody speaking up now against the government because now they got benefits and pensions, and that's one way to silence you.
Absolutely.
We all need those things, but that's one way they try to silence you. And I chose not to accept that. If I helped a candidate, most people help candidates for jobs. Like, we're going to do this for you, but I want this. If I believe in a candidate, I'm going to help that candidate get in as well. And they don't owe me. I mean, yeah, once you get in and you get in there, you can throw some advertisement. You know what I'm saying? So you keep us informed with the press releases and, all that stuff. I'm going to look for an exclusive or something every now and then. You know what I'm saying? But you don't owe me a job. Helping a mayor become mayor does not make me qualified for a commissioner position. And I've had that. I've had that thrown at me.
That's one of the things that's wrong with politics. That quid pro quo. That's one of the things that's wrong with politics. So, and it does destroy community movements. It does destroy community movements very easily, unfortunately. But people need stuff, right? That's why we have to take care of each other. That's why we have to give donations, right? When they're asked for, that we have to support each other. We can't let each other, succumb to that need. That would have somebody succumb to the quid pro quo because they need to. Sometimes you just can't criticize people.
I'm not mad when you can't feed your family and there's an opportunity. It's when you lose yourself in that opportunity.
Yeah.
When you sell yourself for that opportunity. That's but again, that's better than your family starving. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, I really can't be mad. Everybody's not built like this. Everybody's not going to be on the front lines. It's one of the first things we say in all the movements is everybody's not going to be on the front line. Everybody's just not built that way.
Yeah.
People do have jobs to protect and X amount of years left before their pension. And, you got to weigh that. Is this worth me going out there risking that?
That is true. But having said that, everybody has a role, right? And people need to realize you have a role. You have a voice, you have a vote, you have a role.
And not only that, if you can't be on the front line, well, one, stay the hell out of the way of the people that are. But two, one of the things you can do is support them. Mm-hmm. Some of these movements need financial support. Some of them need resources that you have access to. There are things that you can do without being on the front line, so the people that are on the front line don't get burned out and can continue to be on the front line. So we have to build these coalitions. I'm trying to see if I can build a coalition with some of the area NAACPs. I joined the Mount Vernon branch, and because of Black Westchester, I've worked with Yonkers, I've worked with White Plains Greenberg, I've worked with Peekskill. You know what I'm saying? I work with New Rochelle, and you know, a lot of us are facing the same things in our city, but in Westchester, we have this thing like, oh, that's just Mount Vernon. That don't concern me. Oh, that's just White Plains. That ain't got nothing to do with me. But, you know, if you don't help those when they in need, when it comes down to you getting attacked or whatever it is you need to be defended, there ain't nobody left to help you or want to help you because you didn't help them when they needed it. So,
like I said, collaboration is an Afrocentric model. We need to embrace it and lean into it and really use it to our advantage. We don't do that too often. We don't do that. We stay in our factions. You know, that's not helpful. That's not helpful. We can do some great things locally, but we can't, you know, none of us does alone what we can do together. None of us.
I want to say thank you. Someone sent a donation to PayPal and then sent me a text that they did not want me to read their name. So thank you. Please keep the donations coming. Again, the PayPal link is at the bottom, and Cash App is right after my name, MRAJ Woodson, with the $ in front of it. So yes, please keep them coming. But I just see one that just came in, and the person does not want to be acknowledged. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Greatly appreciate you. And yo, even if it's $1 or $5, I mean, you know, $500, that's good too. You know what I mean? But you know, whatever, it all adds up. So it all helps the work get done. So, you know, help the operating costs, all the expenses that you see behind the scene that you don't ever see. So thank you all. Thank you all. Thank everybody else in advance who will click the link or drop something in. Appreciate you. What's going on? You're in the Greenberg area, Greenberg, White Plains area. What's going on up there? Anything good going on up there?
You know, Greenberg, White Plains NAACP is putting together a forum on reparations. So September 19th at the Greenberg Library, there's going to be a panel discussion, bringing in some experts to talk about reparations. And hopefully we're going to have some local government folk to talk about how reparations applies to New York State and Westchester County. We all need to show up for that. It's a very important opportunity for us to discuss this. A lot of people don't even know what reparations is. Everybody's thinking it has to do with a cash all the time. It's a paycheck. You know, there's so much more to reparations than is on the front. And we need to discuss this. So that's happening. I know that you and I are both involved in another community event, a series around the Hulu 1619 project.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's going to happen. I think your date is October 19th. I think that kicks off. That's at the Greenberg Library as well. And people can
I know I'm the first one.
Check that out.
I have to check my schedule. I know I'm the first one.
Yeah, you're the first one. You're going to be talking with Paul Feiner on the subject of democracy. So what that's going to be is showing the episode of the 1619 project. There's 6 of those, I believe, and then every one of them deals with a different topic. And you and Paul Feiner are going to be discussing democracy. So there's a talk back after the episode gets shown. So we need to make sure that people know when that is. But if they go to the Greenberg Library website, that will all show up under the 1619 project. And I'm going to be talking about fear. We have somebody talking about justice. It's going to be good.
Do you have a flyer? Is there a flyer for that yet?
You know what? I don't think so, unfortunately. Of course, we're waiting on graphics, etc. So there's no flyer quite yet, but it's on the library website, I do believe. It ought to be. So that's a community collaboration project. Anybody who's listening to this and wants to collaborate around that project, you know, please, they can reach out to you, AJ, and then you can get back to me and
absolutely,
we can, you know, feature some folks again, because we need folks who are knowledgeable about these things to speak up and speak out and talk about these issues that affect all of us, right? People think, well, that's just black, you know, that's black folk over there, and you know, those people, residents over here, and you know, as long as we are thinking of each other in terms of whatever we think our identities are, and we are not talking to each other from that standpoint of, oh yeah, you're a human being, You care about your family. You want to make sure you have affordable housing. You need a job that pays, right? You need to make sure that you have transportation and healthcare, right? As long as we're not talking to each other, with each other about how to make all of our lives better, we are missing the boat. So we need everybody to be present in these conversations, right? Whether it's reparations, whether it's justice, whether it's affordable housing, these are all important things to think about. I'm still looking for new committee members for the Greenberg Human Rights Advisory Committee. We're still looking for new members to join us to be doing educational events to talk about, well, what's human rights, right? How does it affect all of us? We AJ, we just had the students from Greenberg show up and do a press conference with Jamal Bowman, who sponsored a bill to shorten the number of days, the limits on asylum seekers being able to work, right? So these students, these interns in Greenberg, these high school students, put together a program and decided that the conditions that the asylum seekers were being kept in Ardsley, they wanted to do something about that. They went out, they are creating some movements about getting these people some better food, allowing these people to work. Jamal Bowman showed up and gave a great press conference last week, which was picked up by the news. So when you all work together, life gets better. And this is what we need to do. This is what we need to do.
Absolutely. Shout out to Rob Wingate, who is sharing the show all through various chats right now on Facebook, telling people to check out AJ and Lane right now.
Yeah, shout out to Rob Wingate for sure. Rob Wingate is all out everywhere, all the time. Everything social justice, racial justice, all the time.
Absolutely.
Do not mess with him.
So shout out to him for tuning in. We were going to talk about something earlier. I had there was a Facebook post. I'm going to actually read part of it. I was asking the person if they wanted to come on, and they were trying to, and it was last minute, and they weren't able to make it last minute. Basically, there was a shooting of some sort in Mount Vernon yesterday. I just want to read. It's not that long. We're going to read it. Dwayne Murray posted, "The ebbs and flow of things in Mount Vernon can feel so psychologically draining when it comes to crime and shooting." This is great. I'm going to ask him, can I post this? I'm going to put this in the paper. "The city has been on a really great run of late in terms of engaging citizenry. The many events such as the National Night Out was fun-filled, well-attended events. That was evident to everyone who was there. It is true. It was a true feel-good moment. And last night, the Fine Wine Series at Memorial Field looked like a huge success. As a result, next week, folks are looking forward to the Derby coming to town. But then Mount Vernonites wake up to the news of shots fired on the 300 block of South 4th Street. 2 were shot, 3 were injured. It is terribly unfortunate to state that, yes, this does happen everywhere. But for Mount Vernon and where we currently find ourselves, the gravity of the crime seems so much heavier, and thus continues the dramatic ebbs and flows of things here. How could this not be mentally draining to the city, to any city similarly situated? Politically, the elections are over, and there are 2 vital positions that the mayor must fill because of the wide-ranging impact on what the mayor wants to accomplish, and the leadership of the city needs to see in terms of crime and policing. The mayor's chief of staff and the office of the Mount Vernon Police Department commissioner. Let's just take a look at the office of police commissioner. There are 2 issues that come to mind regarding the new commissioner. 1, he or she needs to be visible around the community. When David Chong was commissioner in 2006, one of the things I remember most was seeing him riding his bike all over Mount Vernon. He was visible, and it made an impact. It allowed citizens to give the former Commissioner Chong a fighting chance. He did not run into many of the same issues we face now. That was illustrated in 2007 New York Times article titled Voices Rise in Mount Vernon over how to fight crime. Sounds familiar? I urge all of you to take a look and read that article. But Chong maintained the visibility that allowed the city to give him the benefit of the doubt. For his efforts, he was hired in White Plains, where he remains as the commissioner. We need something similar from the next commissioner. Secondly, we have to understand that if we want the best, competent, experienced person, we can hire. Hold on, I hit something. We can hire to help to deal with crime in our city. We need to ante up. $150,000 isn't going to do it, folks. All that's going to do, especially if he or she is effective here, is have him or her poach from us for more money later. It's happening with our police officers. And why wouldn't it happen with our commissioner? We need more continuity in that position. And there's other bullets that we may have to bite. One of which is you raise the salary of the commissioner, inevitably you'll have to raise the salary of the officers under his command. It's reasonable to believe that the issues will be a true test of our fortitude to seriously get a handle on crime in Mount Vernon. There's 2 more paragraphs. I know, I can already hear the words, but the city has no money. Then it's time to bring more creativity and innovation to the table. We need creativity to focus the city to think of new ways to resolve problems. We need innovation to actually execute those new ways. And while it's true the administration has had to bring them to bear already, frankly, we need even more. It's a lousy deal, but it's what it is. It's a fair presumption to suggest how and with whom these positions are filled could very well determine how the mayor's second term will ultimately be viewed. While the chief of staff position is vital, the naming of a new Mount Vernon police commissioner will have the attention of all of us, as it should. And with a little luck and creativity, we can fully enjoy the engaging events in our city the city is offering it without the depressing impact of gun violence can surely have. And he had a graphic Mount Vernon, New York Police Department shot fire incident, 300 block South 4th Avenue, August 23rd, incident notification. Rob said, love it. Love it. All of you.
It's all you.
So
go ahead. So where was that? Where was that? Where did that appear, AJ, what you read?
So that's on Facebook. Dwayne Murray's Facebook page. He was actually going to come on in the first hour and discuss why he wrote that and, start the conversation. Anybody in Mount Vernon, I urge you to read that. And it's been a very engaging conversation in the comment section, including a response from the mayor addressing some of the things that were said in there. So definitely everybody check that out. What I said to him was, and why I invited him, everything can't be discussed from my point of view and Damon's point of view and maybe Bob's point of view. There are other voices in our community. While I don't have to agree with, and I'm not saying I don't agree with everything in there verbatim of what he read, there's some questions about, there's some people that were very critical of Commissioner David Chong when he was here and have been critical of him in White Plains. So, and I'm not calling him out or anything. I'm just saying we all have our opinions. But what was good is that he wasn't afraid to say it. Like we say in the beginning of our show, he had something on his mind that he wanted to express, and he articulated it without, really being nasty and calling the mayor names, or you know what I'm saying, or just I believe that it was a great it's a great conversation starter, and I wanted to invite him on here to continue the conversation. I'm not going to speak for him. I just wanted to read that, and then I will get his permission. If he lets me, I'm going to put it in the paper so everybody can see it, and we start that conversation. So, I mean, that's what we're here for others to express their, like, this was never meant to be all my voice or all Damon's voice. It was supposed to be the voice of the community. The paper was never meant to be written all in my voice. Thank you for all of those who have sent articles and sent letters to the editor and have written op-eds to get other point of view and cover things that we weren't covering or that I don't get a chance to. Because for every story I do, I tell people this, and some people don't believe me. There's at least 10 or 20 stories I don't get to for everyone that I do. There are so many things in Westchester going on. There are so many things in the city of Mount Vernon going on. I could literally trip over 5 stories on the way to the corner store, like just walking out of my house. So it's like, unfortunately, we don't get to everyone's story. Brother like Hector Santiago, what he was going through in Yonkers, it's not like that I never want to cover his story. He has a story. I just didn't have, I'm only one person, and we couldn't get to it. And I'm glad other people have covered it, and I shared their coverage of it. But, I say that to say, well, we do need help. We need other voices. We need other people covering stuff too, so we can cover more. And, some of that will be, we need to be able to pay them too. You know what I'm saying? So they'll do more, and that, we need to raise money and stuff like that as well, so we can pay people. But right now, not really having a budget like that, I do it all. And, there is so much we just scratch the surface on. As many accolades and stuff we get, we're literally only scratching the surface. We're not even.
I think a lot of people don't know that you will print things that they send. I think a lot of people don't know that. They think that you have to write it, and they don't understand. It's like, yeah, okay, it's not that I'm not interested in this, but I can't write about this because I only have so many hours in a day. Right? There's so much going on. I think a lot of people don't really understand that. So how do you propose that people actually submit something to you? You don't want to guarantee that you're going to print everything. So, what are you asking people?
I welcome letters to the editor and op-eds. There's differences, op-ed is your opinion. Letter editor, you write something to the editor that you want to address. You send it. All you have to do is write it up. Contact me. Reach out to me at blackwestchester@gmail.com. A lot of people do it sometimes. Be like, yo, I got this issue I'm dealing with. We got somebody out here that will write it, but if we write it, will you run it? Listen, so my only thing is, if you write it, if you want to address an issue, I'm going to need you to put your name on it. We're not doing anonymous stuff. You know what I'm saying? We're not really doing a lot of anonymous stuff. Be as factual as you can, but put your name on it, because, if it's not factual, it's you got to stand by what you write. So that's the only things we ask. We don't want things coming out trashing. I try not to get stuff from candidates, because candidates want to trash another candidate. There might be an issue that they're dealing with, but they're only dealing with it because they're running against that person. And that's why they want this issue brought out. And I won't let them use us for that. You know what I'm saying? This is not what we do. We won't fight your battles for you. You got to be able to fight them. But you want to speak, we will definitely. This is it. We want people not to think of this as just me and Damon's show or me and Damon's paper. We want the community to think of this as our paper, as our, the community itself saying, this is our paper, this is our show. And with that, without further ado, my guest of the hour, the one and only Mr. Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. is in the place to be.
looking all clean.
Oh, he's always quite dapper. I go places with him and Damon, and it's like, they kind of put me to shame. They all dapper. Damon got the red bottom shoes on and the bow ties. I'm like, I stopped trying to compete with them, and I just do what I can do, and I'm fine with that at this point.
What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
What's going on, my brother? I definitely, I don't know the whole story, but I knew that two things happened. The DA's office, in the case of your father, fighting for justice for your father, the DA 2 years ago had agreed to re-examine, not reopen, re-examine both the case of your father's killing and the case of Damroy DJ Henry's killing.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe just recently they came back and found no new evidence to open to reopen the case. And I'll let you go from that. And then secondly, the other thing that happened, I had got an email that was leaked to me from members of the White Plains Council saying that they were going to vote the next day at the council meeting to release the funds to pay a settlement for the city to pay a settlement to your family. And I really hadn't had you on the show, and I wanted to, and I know your phone was probably blowing up. Everybody wanted to know what you think and all this and all that, so I wanted to give you some time. But instead of writing something, I figured, like, I know you, I'm going to bring you on, and we're just going to talk about it. So welcome to the show, my brother.
Well, again, thank you, brother, for having me on the show. Yes, the DA 2 years ago, my family is, along with the family of Damroy DJ Henry, made a request to the district attorney, Mimi Roca, that she, look at the killing of their son and my father, and to make a determination whether, really what we were asking is whether or not the case was presented fairly. Let's just cut right to it.
Right.
Were these cases presented fairly to a grand jury when the DA at that time, Janet DeFiore, was in control? 2 years later, she comes back and she says that there's no new evidence that would constitute reopening the case. But the question still was never answered. What instructions were the grand jury given with regard to the killing of our loved ones? But I'll say specifically with the killing of my father, what instructions did you give the grand jury in terms of charges? Now, we know that he was called the N-word, and we know that they tried to minimize that. So I don't believe that a hate crime was put on the table. And we know that more times than not, they will put intentional murder on the table. And we know that it's hard to prove intentional murder, that a police officer woke up that day and said, today I'm going to kill somebody. Unless you actually have them on video, audio recording saying that, there's no way you're going to get an intentional murder charge. But you could get a manslaughter charge. You could get a crim neg charge, because in those, you don't have to prove the intent. You just have to prove that they did it. So I've been asking that the grand jury minutes be unsealed. They're saying due to, witnesses and things like that. I don't want to know who the witnesses were. I just want to know what the consideration was. We know that the witnesses were police officers and maybe a few people that was present or lived in 135 South Lexington at that time. So I want the complete review from Deborah Voice, unredacted. I don't want anything blacked out. And I want to be able to read this in its entirety to come back with my fact-based conclusion as to whether or not I feel the case was presented fairly. And then, of course, you know that I'd say just a few days after that review came out, the Common Council voted to settle with my family, a monetary settlement. Now, the PBA is saying this is in no way an admission of guilt or wrongdoing, and I agree. And I've said that. No, it's not. The way that we find out if there was any wrongdoing is by unsealing the grand jury minutes and see what was the consideration. And then we'll know for a fact whether or not there was malfeasance, some type of prosecutorial misconduct. Then we'll know. But I believe, and it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. But I believe that if they do unseal the grand jury minutes, we will see that there was bias in favor of law enforcement. So that's where we are right now. A lot of people have been asking me, how do I feel now that the city of White Plains decided to settle? And the truth is, brother, I don't know what I feel. I don't know. We're talking about almost 12 years. So I can't really tell you how I feel. When people say congratulations, I know what they mean. I know where their heart is at. But congratulations means there should be a cause for celebration. There is no celebrating here. A man died. I don't have my father back. So, when people say it, as I said, look, I understand why they're saying it. But at the same time, there's no cause for celebration here. And as I've said already, while monetary settlements in situations like this should be part of the process, it in no way is a substitute for justice and accountability in these types of deaths.
What I got out of that, so that the PBA said this is no way an admission of guilt, instead of the city saying we're sorry for the loss of your father. Like, it happened. Your father's not here. He was killed by the White Plains Police Department when they went to answer a medical call. These are facts. These are documented facts. And the city itself and the police department, the police commissioner, whoever, have never said we're sorry. And I know I had, and I'm not gonna put him on blast right now. I know I had this conversation with one of the common council members who called me after we talked about this before, and they was like, they wanted to apologize, but their lawyer wouldn't let them apologize. The city apologized because then it would be an admission of guilt. Well, they've already paid, and then would make them have to pay. Mm-hmm. They've already paid, and I feel like an apology is still not justice. It's still not accountability. But that might have gone a long way, though, if it was sincere. And that's just my opinion.
Well, I think that it would have gone a long way in the beginning.
In the beginning, right. Yeah.
That's like me saying to you, AJ, I don't like the fact that you've done A, B, and C. I think it's inappropriate. I think that it's wrong. I think it was out of line. And when you change that particular behavior or whatever it is that you're doing, did you change it because you really wanted to change it? Or did you change it only because I made mention of it? Remember, when they gave an apology, they didn't give an apology until almost 6 months after my father was killed. Well, they didn't give condolences.
Condolences, right.
They didn't give condolences, okay, until about maybe 6 months after. And they only did that because I made mention of it in an interview where I said the city of White Plains has yet to give my family and I condolences on the killing of my father.
Lane, do you have any questions before I just take over this whole thing? I wanted to make sure you get to say what you want to say.
No, I don't have any questions. I'm here just giving space to Brother Kenneth because it's always an honor to be in your space. You continue to be courageous. You continue to be generous with your time and your energy around this tragedy, educating people and standing up for people who don't have a voice and need to hear this. So just thank you for continuing.
Thank you.
To fight for all of us.
Someone told me, and this is funny, so you don't cover the loss of my family member the way you cover the loss of Kenneth Chamberlain. And it was like, you always write about that. I said, you know why? Because Kenneth Chamberlain is constantly fighting for his family and for justice for his family. He dictates that there be something written about it because he continues to put action out there fighting for the, and a lot of people are not. And it doesn't mean that I don't have empathy for them. You know what I mean? But they're not fighting their fight. You know what I mean? And want me to fight it for them. And that's a difference.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, look, I will say this. There are a lot of families when these types of tragedies happen, they're lost because I know I was. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to speak to. The only names that popped in my head at that time, obviously, was Al Sharpton, because he was a very key figure in these types of deaths. Reaching out to people like that, they never came to White Plains, and you know that. They never came to assist my family and I, these more well-known and notable activists. And so I had to put together my own blueprint, if you will, on how to fight this fight. So I had to be very strategic. I had to take my time. And if I could give any family that's dealing with these types of tragedies any advice, I would say, number one, only one person speaks for your family. You have one designated speaker other than your legal team. That's the first thing, because they will try to split you off. Number two, understand that these cities and these governments are going to put a narrative out there that's going to make your loved one look like a suspect rather than a victim. And it is on you to then put an alternative narrative out there. It's on you to do that. See, people think the word alternative facts just came about with Donald Trump. Alternative facts is just that. We are arguing something. We're arguing a position on something, but from different perspectives. You're saying one, you're giving the argument as to why it's this way. I'm giving the argument of why it's this way. So you have to remember to do that as well. And I think most important, never allow your emotions to supersede your intelligence in these types of fights. Yes, you've seen me with tears in my eyes, AJ. You've seen it. Even when I talk about it now, the tears well up in my eyes, right now, because I'm still talking about the loss of my dad. But when I speak factually. And I make sure that all I'm doing is discussing the facts as it pertains to the killing of my father. I'm not speculating. I'm making it known. And I normally say this ahead of time before I speak. And so I'm going to say it now, that anything that I say as it pertains to the killing of Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. is available through Freedom of Information. You can foil it and you can find out yourself. Okay, because one thing that we're not going to do is say that I'm here telling a lie or I'm misrepresenting what actually took place. So these are things that people have to understand, and you have to stay in these fights and you can't give up. So what has happened in the 12 years that I've been fighting, or almost 12 years? Well, one of the things that's happened is the White Plains Police Department ended up with body cameras. That was one of the first things. They put a social worker on their staff who they have a mental health professional 24 hours around the clock as part of their team. And that was because we were pushing it. And we weren't talking about the emotional side of this. We were talking about policy and procedure. We were talking about pattern and practice. These are the things that we were talking about. So if your policies are not on point and not intact, then this is where we get you. This is where we say you did something wrong. So we would speak to those issues. I'm not just going to sit there and say, oh, you killed my father. Yes, you did. You murdered my father. But let's look at the policies. What was your policy when you're dealing with someone who is quote unquote emotionally disturbed? What is your taser policy? Did you follow those policies? Did you violate your force continuum in any way? These are all of the things that we need to speak to when you're a loved one trying to fight to get some type of accountability for your loved one. And like I said, I won't ever deny that I don't feel pain, that I'm not sad, that I'm not hurting, because I am. I'm hurting right now, even as we discuss it. But I know that it's bigger than Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. It's bigger than Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. Because I want to inspire another family or someone who is thinking about giving up. Don't you dare give up. We have created case law people can actually use based on the Second Circuit's ruling to overturn the original decision. That is case law, because I didn't give up, because I continued to fight. So these are things that families have to remember. And yeah, you might feel like yelling and screaming and cursing out law enforcement. Look, I get it. You're angry. You're hurt. But that doesn't do anything for your fight. What you need to do is you need to stay on the task at hand. And the task is justice and accountability in the death of your loved one. That's what we need to do. And you don't let other people dictate how you're going to fight your fight. You fight it the way you want to fight it. You consult with your legal team, with counsel, and you come up with a strategy and you move in that direction. And there were times, and you know this, AJ, that I felt like giving up. I did. There were days I sat on the edge of my bed with tears in my eyes because I felt no one would come and help me. And why not? What if it was your loved one? But at the same time, I knew I couldn't let that stop me. I wasn't cut from that cloth. I often say I'm the son of a Marine, so I wasn't taught to give up. I was taught to continue to fight. And that's what I've been doing. And along that path, I met other families. I met other people who are victims, who had loved ones that were victims of extrajudicial killings and summary executions by law enforcement. And we have this bond now because we know what each other are feeling. We know what it feels like to sit up 2-3 o'clock in the morning because your brain is still racing, because you're trying to figure out these coulda, shoulda, wouldas in the death of your loved one. So again, I would just simply say to families who are in these fights, don't give up. Speak factually. Stay the course. Don't allow your emotions to supersede your intelligence. And we will push for you to get some type of accountability, because we know it's not going to be justice, because justice should be swift. It should be immediate. It should be certain. Okay. And we don't see that happening in cases like this.
I get, I wasn't here in 2011. I came back in 2014. So I was 3 years into it. But I've spent a lot of time with you. And I want to also read, shout out to Darlene Patricia said Kenneth Chamberlain doesn't just advocate for himself. He is constantly showing up for others. Through his own grief, he has gracefully taken the time to help other families. I have been a witness to that when Raynette Turner died in the custody of Mount Vernon Police Department. And the husband, Herman, did not know what he was going to do. There was a town hall we put together and everything. And Herman had to walk out. And I went to go to the bathroom. And one thing I saw, you were there comforting him, letting him know, because people tell you stuff, like even when my mother died from cancer. People are like, oh, I know how you feel. No, the hell you don't know how I feel. You know what I mean? But when you say it, they know it's coming from someone who actually does know how they feel. Like Jarrell Garrett's family, you know what I'm saying? And all the other families, Nancy, Cater, Maldonado, they know that you know how it feels. I rode out with you to Brooklyn to, Sherelle Varus, forget his name. Shahid Varus. Vassal, sorry. We went out there. I went rode with you out there, and it was like the anniversary of his death, and Tish James announced the day before that they weren't going to file charges or whatever. And you spoke, and you were elegant. And I hope you don't mind me bringing this up again. On the way, you had heard that your daughter might have been in a situation on the way down. On the way back, you got confirmation that your daughter died in a car accident. And even then, I watched the strength of this brother who was trying to keep it together, but was calling his kids and his mom to make sure that they knew and they didn't find out from social media. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just like the strength. I know you say you don't, dude, you got the ancestors with you or something, and we all stand with you because, you show strength in those moments, and I think that's what makes you different from a lot of people. Like, you stand up in those moments, even in your pain, as Darlene said, and through your own grief, you graciously taking the time to help other families, and that is very admirable, and I'm never going to stop telling you that and praising it.
Well, I definitely remember that day. Just a piece that a lot of people don't know. It was in April of 2019. Mm-hmm. We went out there to support the family of Shahid Vassal, who NYPD shot because they said he was pointing a pipe at people that looked like a gun. I was speaking to the father of Shahid Vassal. And as AJ said, I had gotten a call earlier that people were trying to reach my older daughter and they weren't successful and they thought something happened to her. But even then, I was of the mindset that she's going to call everybody. She's just ignoring people right now. She's going to call us and everything's going to be fine. I was speaking to the father of Shahid Vassal, and he said to me, you're very strong, and you help me stay strong in this fight. And I said to him, you're stronger than me. And he said, why? I said, I lost my dad. I said, and that hurts. I said, but you lost a child. And I said to him, I don't know what I would do if I lost one of my children. Right after that, I got the phone call while AJ and I were there. And they said, your daughter was killed in a car accident. I remember AJ saying, we got to go. And I said, no. I said, I got to help this family first. That's when I spoke. And then when I finished, we left. And I remember AJ looking at me like I was crazy because he was like, your daughter just died and you're here helping another family. And it's funny that we're talking about this now because tomorrow is my daughter's birthday.
Oh man.
She would have been 28 years old tomorrow.
Mm.
And I miss her. Excuse me.
No doubt. No ever need to excuse yourself, brother. I said that to you in the car. I mean, while you composing yourself. You know, I had said two things to you. I said, one, I don't have my license, but brother, you can pull over and I can drive. Or if you need to just pull over to the side and like take some time, don't feel like you have to rush to get me back. Like I wanted you to know, like I didn't want you to think like it wasn't about me. You know, if we had to sit on the side of the road for 2 hours, whatever, or if I had to drive, I just wanted to let you know I was there for you. And like that was the only thing I really do. And I'm sitting there, and the only other thing I could do is when you dropped me off close to your house. You was at a where you could turn and go straight to your daughter's house, and I could just walk 3-4 blocks. So now drop me off here, and I'll call Damon for you to take that call off you. So that's one less call you got to make. Like that was the only thing I could really do. You know what I mean? But it was just like I wanted to be there for you because I feel like, our people that are there for us and there for others, it's important that we be there for them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm often, and I know I speak from experience when I say, you know, when other people are going through things, they call us and we're there for them. When Damon and I get attacked, it's like crickets and you can't see nobody around us. You know what I'm saying? Like you've been there, a few other people. But so I understand from that aspect. And I just wanted you to know that, you know, I had your back that day. And you must have apologized to me in the car. Like, yo, you was apologizing for, I said, bro, you ain't got nothing to apologize for. Yo, dude, like, you my brother. Like, you know what I'm saying? And yo, it's real emotions. Like, yo.
Yeah. You know, I think that, you know, you heard me telling my sons because
right. And your daughter, and you were trying to reach your daughter because that's what you was.
I reached her mother,
right?
But I knew I couldn't tell my daughter, my youngest daughter. I knew I couldn't tell her over the phone. I knew I had to be looking at her because I knew that was her older sister, and that was going to be it. When I told her, and I tell people she let out a scream that I never want to hear. So, you know, and then of course, you know, I lost my mother a year ago to stage 4 colon cancer. So, you know, but I'm still standing, you know, I'm not defeated. So
I still got the ambulance company calling me, trying to making sure I don't write nothing bad about them.
Yeah, those idiots who left my mother at her chemo appointment and never brought her home. You know, unbelievable. But yeah. So there's definitely been a lot that has gone on, that has happened in these 12 years. But again, I'm still standing. Where do I go from here? You know, the plan is to finally put this foundation in place in my father's name and really do the work that a lot of these organizations claim they do, but we really don't see any results. So that is the plan, to do that. And other than that, you know, just make sure that my family is okay, and still push to get these results of the review from Devil Voice and request from DA Roca that she put the request in to have the grand jury minutes unsealed, at least the consideration part. I don't care about anything else, just that part. Do that for our families. Do that for my family. Do that for the family of DJ Henry. Let us see what Janet DeFiore said when she spoke to the grand jury. Because again, like I said, I don't believe these cases were presented fairly, but we can't prove it. And the only way we can is by the unsealing of the grand jury minutes. So that's where I am. And other than that, what other plans do I have? Who knows? I often say I miss my calling for law school. Maybe I'll go. And who knows? Maybe Mayor Kenneth Chamberlain sounds good. I don't know.
So every time you say that, I have to tell a story. So for whatever reason, Pastor Wheeler had some of us come to the church. So I'm sitting in the front row, me, Mayor Davis, Damon, someone else, and we're sitting there, and I get an alert on my phone saying Kenneth Chamberlain just made you the administrator for Kenneth Chamberlain for mayor. I'm like, wait, what? like that's how I found out. Like I just saw this thing come, and I'm showing Damon. I'm like, yo, he's running for mayor. He's like, oh, I don't know. So that's how I found out.
So look, let me just say this, because I often say it in jest, but I also know, and I'm sure that Reverend Cobb will agree with me on this. I said, God has a sense of humor.
Oh, yes.
And when you say you're not going to do something,
oh, yes. Oh, yes.
You end up doing it. So people will ask me, do I have any plans on running for office, political office, and things like that? And I just say, if it's the Lord's will, if that's what I'm supposed to do, then that's what's going to happen. Do I have any immediate plans to do something like that? Absolutely not. But I'll never say what I won't do, because my thing is that if I can do the work, where can I best serve? Can I serve in office or out of office? Because we know that sometimes when you're in political office, your hands are tied. Right. There's a lot of things that you can't do, and there's a lot of opposition. And there's a lot of things that you can't say because it's not politically correct. But when you're not in that arena, there's certain things you can do and you can say. So again, I don't know which direction that's going to take me, but whichever path I am led down, if that's the path that God is leading me down, then that's the path that I'm going to go. And I don't play to lose. I play to win.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we do know, sorry, AJ, one of the things that we do know, right, is our mess is our ministry, right? It is like what we live through, that is God opening the door for us to use that to help other people going through that, right? To empower folk, because as you all were saying, there's things that that other people don't know, just by the virtue of what you have lived through and the fights that you have fought. And so, and also if you say things more than once, for real, right? Words are your prophecy, correct? So by all means, we are looking forward. We are looking forward to calling you Mr. Mayor, Your Honor, Senator, whatever works. You have a whole lot of folk behind you. But just thank you for allowing God to use you, even in all of that pain, even in all of that pain. And I see it with Darlene also, who's on the broadcast, right? Using her pain about having lost her son to empower people and to move new legislation. This is important work that you were doing. And thank you for being able to laugh about it and just pave the way and continue to focus people, to not allow people to lose focus, because that's what happens. A killing happens, and then we're all focused for a second, and then we lose focus.
Mm-hmm.
For reminding us we have to stay focused on this with a united voice.
Absolutely.
I've often said you have no idea how much you inspire me. Just what I go through with Black Westchester, and you know a lot of it. There are times I'm like, yo, what the hell? Like I'm ready to. I've tried to quit Black Westchester 20 times. It was done like at least 20 times, and it just won't let me. But you've given me, seeing you continue to go on and what you're dealing with has given me the inspiration and the strength to continue to go on and fight some of the fights that I'm fighting. And I had to put it. And I also wanted to say, I also tell people I am done telling God what I'm not going to do, because I've done that a few times. And so I also, but I agree with you on, I think I'm more effective on the outside than I am on the inside right now. Than being an elected official in one city, how I can be effective throughout the county and sometimes the state. You know what I mean? Doing with the role that I currently have now, that could change in the future. So I'm definitely with you, but know that if you do run, you already know you got our support. So you already know. So,
and you know, and I often say too that the same way that people would tell me that I have their support, part of having that support means you hold me accountable. You hold me accountable.
A lot of elected officials
don't give me a pass because you know me,
right?
You know, or we worked together for so many years on a common objective. No, you still hold me accountable. It's like, no, now you're doing this, and you said you was going to do that, and you did not. You know, why not? You know, hold me accountable. Accountability is key, no matter what you're doing. And I always say, be firm, be fair, and be consistent. That's what you have to do. That's what true effective leadership is. Being firm, fair, and consistent. Whatever it is you're doing. As long as you do those three things, you'll be fine. When you deviate from it, it's when you have a problem.
You also hold us accountable. I have gotten calls and be like, my brother, I do not agree with that you just put out on. We could be on the show and you'll be like, yo, AJ, I respectfully disagree with you on that, and then tell me why. So you've held us accountable and pushed us a few times. Well, I know I can speak for myself. I know you and Damon fight like brothers, but I'm saying for me,
course,
yeah.
Yes, we do. You know, Damon and I will agree to disagree on a point in a minute. You know, but we want the same thing,
right?
And it's okay to disagree, because what that's doing is, right now with all of us, okay, I have not just professional relationships with you through doing this type of work. I feel I have personal relationships with both of you as well.
Right.
We may talk about something and we are not going to see eye to eye on it. And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
Because just because I disagree with what you're saying does not mean I lost respect for you. It's when I lose respect for you, it's when there's a problem. Okay. And I've been in situations like that with people where I lost all respect for them because, you know, they were, for lack of a better way of saying, they were the definition of hypocrisy. Yeah. So, and that's one thing that I don't like. I don't like hypocritical talk. I don't like that. You know, don't say one thing and then do something else. If this is what you say you're going to do, then you do it. And this is why when people will ask me, for instance, oh, are you going to show up here? Or are you going to do this? Or can you be present for this? Sometimes I don't have the answer at that time. And I'll say, look, I don't know what my schedule looks like right now, but if I'm free, you will look up and you will see me. But I can't commit to it. You know, I'm big on that. I come from this era where we say your word is bond. And you know, we came up in that era where you said word is born is life, and you should give your life before your word shall fail. Okay? So if I give my word, that means something. I have a problem with people lying to me.
Absolutely.
Okay? Just tell me the truth. If I get upset, I get upset.
Right.
But let's be honest. Okay? And this is one of the things that has to happen, especially when you're talking about police reform, affecting positive change within departments and changing these laws. We have to be honest. We have to first admit that there are two different types of laws here. We first have to admit that over 160 years ago, a chief judge said that a black man has no rights by which a white person is bound to respect. And that is still in effect today. We have to look at that. It makes no sense. And I mentioned this when they came back with this review that basically just told me the power of the grand jury and the secrecy laws. You had an Asian woman beaten in Yonkers, New York by a black man. That black man beat her, called her racial slurs, put her in the hospital. Thank God she's still alive today. They arrested him. They charged him by felony complaint. Then they indicted him in the grand jury. He went to trial. He was found guilty and was sentenced to 17 years. They held this big event in front of the Westchester County Courthouse. Westchester has no home for hate. I was there. I also saw where the Holocaust Memorial in front of the county office building was vandalized. I remember when they painted the swastika on the path of the Bronx River Parkway.
Oh.
My argument has always been, especially when people act like racism and bigotry would not be tolerated, my father was mocked, taunted, called the N-word, tasered, shot with a beanbag shotgun, and then killed with live rounds. If Westchester truly has no home for hate, where was the outrage when my father was called a nigger? Where was the outrage? There was none. Why? Because the laws don't apply to him. Because a black man has no rights by which a white person is bound to respect. And this is why we have to change these things. We have to push to affect positive change. And as I mentioned to D.A. Rocha, you know, we want transparency. Transparency will bring about accountability in cases like these. And we're hoping that if we're holding them accountable, that in the event an individual is found to have committed some type of misconduct, some criminality or brutality, that justice will be swift and certain and sure. And the same way that they would walk me down a perk line and ask me, why'd you do it? You should be doing that to police officers when they commit these types of egregious acts.
Exactly. And that whole thing about no one is above the law and all that other stuff that,
if you ask them most of the time, what is the rule of law? Because you'll hear many of these elected officials say that they believe in the rule of law. But what is the rule of law? I bet you most of them can't give you an answer. They'll say, oh, well, I believe in the rule of law. I'll ask the question, what's the rule of law? Educate me, because I don't know. And they won't give you an answer or some flimsy answer. I've said it so much that, I say it in my sleep. Okay, that the government, its agents and officials are to be held to the same set of rules that enables a fair and functioning society. That is the rule of law. It's not about being treated equally. It's about being given the same consideration for similar circumstances. So we should not be treated differently. Not equality, but equity. There's a difference. So this is where we are. And this is why a lot of the times I know they don't want to see me coming, because I sit there and I'm quiet and I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm not quick to just blurt out something. I'm listening and I'm thinking about what I want my response to be at that time. But here we are, 2023, about to be 2024. What changes have we really seen after the killing of George Floyd? Tell me what we've really seen. We are pushing for office for police accountability here in Westchester County. I think that it could be great if all 43 police municipalities fell under one umbrella. Why? Because there's greater accountability. That means that, example, body camera policy for the town of Greenberg. The last I remember was any stop, you turn on the camera, no matter what it is. I'm not sure about White Plains Police Department's policy now, but I do remember at one point it was at the officer's discretion they turn it on. So you cross from Central Avenue past the county center, past the CVS, and now you're in Greenberg. The law has changed that fast. So where's the accountability? 43 police municipalities train at the Westchester County Police Academy. So if they train at the police academy in Westchester, why are they just not the Westchester County Police Department? And you have precincts just like you have in New York City. If you really want accountability.
Absolutely. Because the New York City precinct is bigger than the city of Mount Vernon. So, I've talked about that. Also, talking about what just happened with Jarrell Garris. The officers got out their vehicle, engaged them, and then at some point they turned on the audio for their cameras. Like you see, but you can't hear what's going on at that. And at some point they put it on. So it wasn't once they got out the car. It wasn't before they engaged them, which I'm now make me question what is their policy now. I didn't think to ask that. Now that's one of the questions I'm going to be asking what their policy is.
Yeah. What's your body camera policy? What is your policy as it pertains to dealing with individuals who are considered to be emotionally disturbed? One of the other questions you have to look at is in this particular situation with the Jarrell Garris situation is how was the 911 call called in? Was it called in as an emotionally disturbed person, or was it called in as a crime in progress? These are very important. But police officers need to understand, and I get it, as a police officer, you have a very difficult job.
Absolutely.
An extremely difficult job. But you have to understand that your job is to diffuse a situation, not create one. Okay? Your presence, you are supposed to be a visual deterrent to crime. So you should be diffusing a situation when you come on the scene, not yelling and screaming, telling people to shut up and being disrespectful and talking to people as if they're beneath you. Because as a man, as a grown man, or as a grown woman, are you really going to tolerate somebody speaking to you inappropriately or disrespectfully? You absolutely will not. You will not. So we have to look at those things. And I'm really hoping that Tish James does the right thing by this family and really look at this case fully and fairly. Because from what we understand right now, by the family's attorney and by what video we have seen, it looks like something went wrong there. Okay? It looked like something went terribly wrong. But, you know, I'm not in a position to speak to that any further because I'm not privy to all of the audio or video in its entirety to really make a real fact-based conclusion about what I believe I see here. So, but I will say that I hope that this family receives some type of justice and accountability. But what does that look like for the family? Because people will say to me, you stopped saying justice for Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. You started saying accountability. Yes, because justice should have happened on November 19, 2011. But what does accountability look like now for Kenneth Chamberlain? Accountability looks like putting laws and mechanisms in place, real mechanisms, okay, where families, God forbid, have to deal with a situation like this. There are things there that they can really use in order to fight this type of fight. Because you have to remember, anytime a situation happens like this, these cities are reading from the same playbook. Just pay attention to when these things happen in these different cities. Everything is the same. They are reading from the same playbook. They all have this playbook. We don't. No one has the key to fighting these types of injustices. Because if you did, then I would have used it and many other families would have used it. I just know that they will try to wear you down, but you have to stay in the fight. You know, I'll say this much before we end too, is people often talk about that cry in the late night hour when you're home and you're by yourself and you're bringing yourself down and the tears begin to fall and you don't know what you're going to do, where you're going to turn. That was never the issue for me. The issue for me was the early morning cry. When I had to wake up in the morning, I had to make sure my children were straight. I had to get myself together. I had to go to work. I had to smile in people's faces when they said, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm well. How about yourself? When I'm hurting inside. And I've often said, what would you really say to me if you said, oh, how you doing, Mr. Chamberlain? And I said, I'm not doing so well. What would your response be to me then? Because that is not the response that most people give. They go, I'm well, I'm fine, I'm good. How about yourself? You know, all is well. You know, these are the things that we hear. But it's very rare that a person will just be that honest and say, I'm not doing well. If I tell you every morning for 12 years, I've sat on the edge of my bed with tears in my eyes, what is your answer to me? Or what is your response to me for that? Because you can't fix it. You can't fix it. I'll never get closure in the killing of my father. But I pray for peace. Some semblance of peace. And one of the ways that we go about doing that is giving the family the real truth about what happened when their loved ones lost their life. Even if it's something that I don't want to hear, give it to me. I need it. My family needs it so that we can go on and do what we need to do. So I can go on and as the head of the family now and try to keep my family strong. So, again, that's where I am. I still say accountability for Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. I will still say it. Settlement or no settlement. And may there be accountability for Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. and may there be accountability for all families that are impacted by police violence.
My brother, again, I thank you for all that you do. I thank you for coming on here. Like I told you, I know your phone was probably blowing up. I did not want to add to that. Even though you said it wouldn't have been a problem, I still wanted to give you a week or 2 weeks, whatever it was, before I actually reached out to you. You know what I mean? And then, I thank you for accepting my invitation. I'm here. You already know. Whatever you need, I'm here. Whatever I can do, as far as the foundation and everything, just let me know if there's anything I can do with that, and whatever you do from here. I want to say before you left too, and I said this a bunch of times, and I want to be clear, because I've dealt with a lot of family members, some that we know, some locally.
Mm-hmm.
If you, after losing your father at the hands of the police, was on some real NWA shit, fuck the police, no one could really fault you for that, for feeling that way, because we know some people who feel that way. But I've watched you create the Westchester Coalition for Police Reform. I've watched you, I think 2014, 2015, 2016, we went all over this damn county for police community relations forums. Yonkers, Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, all of them. And I watched you work with police. You know what I'm saying? And that has to be, I can never stop bringing that up, because the importance of that, because we won't mention names. We've known, I've had to call you to help you calm somebody down locally.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that feel like, fuck the police. Like, they don't want nothing to do with the police. Like, they, you know what I'm saying? And while you're fighting for justice and now accountability, you're still working with police departments for police reform and for better police community relations. And I think that needs to be said. And I don't believe, and I could be wrong, that the mainstream media catches that narrative enough, like it says that enough, points that part out enough. So it's my job to point that out.
Well, the media, and I learned this from doing a lot of interviews. They said that there's a saying: if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead.
Right. If it bleeds, it leads. Right. Yes.
So, of course, they would rather see the division than the coming together of individuals who don't see eye to eye. See, I always tell people, I don't want to debate you. A debate is an argument. Let's have a dialogue. And let's see if we can come together and agree on something. Like, for example, we know that there is an argument around civilian complaint review boards, having subpoena power. Most police departments don't want them. But when you speak to these departments, one of the things that I found that they did agree on was having mental health professionals in place to assist them with individuals who are in mental health crises. So my thinking is, all right, let's focus on that together. Because if you're speaking as a law enforcement officer, I'm speaking as an activist, or police reform activists, and we're saying the same thing. It's a lot harder for these elected officials to tell us no. And then I'll let you know, as you know, we're going to get back to that other thing, but right now, let's focus on this. Let's get this and let's do this together. But we'll get back to you on that. As far as the Coalition for Police Reform goes, yes, I am one of the co-founders. I am not just the founder. I am a co-founder. And I always give kudos, respect to all the members of the Westchester Coalition for Police Reform, because there are days that I can't be on there. I'm not in every meeting. I'm not, or I'll catch emails late because I'm so busy. But the work is getting done. And then there's times that I have gone on the meetings and I've been there and I just told them I'm tired. I got to get off. But the work doesn't stop. They're still doing it. So I always say to the Coalition for Police Reform, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I appreciate the work that you do when I'm there and when I'm not. And the work is not going to stop. If I'm not here today or tomorrow, the Coalition for Police Reform will live on because they will still continue to do that work.
Very important, very important. Thank you, my brother. Just thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, my brother. I appreciate you. You already know anytime you guys want me to come on, I always try to make it. I will now, when I get off, I'm just going to kind of, sit with my thoughts around my daughter and everything and just,
And I did not know that tomorrow was her birthday.
Yeah, I know you didn't.
Yeah, that's crazy. I really did not know that.
I know you didn't, but yeah, she'd have been 28. I would have loved to see what she was doing right now at 28 years old. And, but, all I have is memories now. So I cherish those. But other than that, AJ, my brother, I salute you. Keep doing the good work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Reverend Cobb, same thing, I've been on your podcast and show too, and we get right to it. We don't mix words, we get right to it because the people got to know. We can't sugarcoat everything. You got to call it as you see it. Address the elephants in the room, if you will.
Yeah, thank you for walking your talk for sure. You are an example to all of us. And as AJ reminds me, he says, Lane, I think sometimes you just need to be more forceful. And you know what? He's right. And thank you very much for being that person who just says what's so and continues to say what's so. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for honoring your daughter. Thank you for honoring us with your time today.
Thank you.
All right, my brother. Peace and blessings.
All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, AJ, for having me with you today.
Absolutely. For all those tuning in, this has been Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show, episode 377. We're celebrating our 9-year anniversary this month. Thank you for all of y'all who have taken that journey with us since August 3rd, 2014, who tune in every week, whether you tune in live or you watch it later on, and share it. And we've grown because of you and because of that. Again, anybody wants to make a donation for the anniversary, the link is at the bottom, paypal.me/Black Westchester Mag, or Cash App, which is, you'll see in my name, is $ Mr. AJ Woodson. Thank you for the few that have actually made donations during this interview. I didn't want to stop the interview to acknowledge, and for y'all that don't want your name mentioned, I won't. And for those who do, let me know, and I will thank you publicly, mention your name. But thank you all. We greatly appreciate you for riding with us. You could be doing anything else. We decided to ride with us. We greatly appreciate it. Shout out to all who tuned in. And until next week, peace.